How powerful is the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier? USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN 78, is the lead ship of her class of U.S. Navy aircraft carriers. The ship is named after the 38th President of the United States, Gerald Ford, whose World War II naval service included combat duty aboard the light aircraft carrier Monterey in the Pacific Theater. On September 10, 2008, the U.S. Navy signed a $5.1 billion contract with Northrop Grumman Shipbuilding in Newport News, Virginia, to design and construct the carrier. Northrop had begun advanced construction of the carrier under a $2.7 billion contract in 2005. The carrier was constructed at the Huntington Ingalls, formerly Northrop Grumman Newport News Shipbuilding facilities in Newport News, Virginia, which employs 19,000 workers. The new vessel is America's first new carrier design in over 40 years, since USS Nimitz CVN 68 entered service on May 3, 1975. The Gerald R. Ford CVN 78 class will eventually be a phased replacement for the Nimitz-class carriers, with as many as 10 vessels or potentially more eventually being built. The Navy will spend $43 billion developing and building the 3 Ford-class carriers that Congress has authorized thus far. Those include Ford herself, the future USS John F. Kennedy, CVN 79, and the future USS Enterprise, CVN 80. More vessels will likely be authorized afterwards. The Ford class is designed with a host of improvements over the Nimitz class that should significantly improve quality of life for sailors and reduce maintenance costs for the Navy. Ford also adds improved survivability measures while reducing manning and maintenance requirements. If all of Navy's projections are realized, the service will save $4 billion in total ownership costs over the life of the ship. Additionally, Ford, which is based on the Nimitz-class hull form, restores weight and stability margins by reconfiguring the ship's interior. Though she displaces roughly 100,000 tons, just like the CVN 68 class, indeed one officer noted that while at sea, Ford is much more sporty than the Nimitz thanks to her prodigious horsepower and reconfigured interiors. Power is derived from a pairing of new generation A-1B nuclear reactors produced by Bechtel Marine Propulsion Corporation, and these succeed current generation A-4W nuclear reactor series that have powered the preceding Nimitz class of ships to this point. The reactor fits will allow the vessel to reach maximum speeds exceeding 30 knots in ideal conditions, and the nuclear nature of their design offers essentially unlimited travel range, capable of reaching any part of the world containing a connected body of water that allows her draught. The reactors hold a service life of approximately 20 to 25 years. Aircraft carrier hull. Hull design is similar to that of the current Nimitz-class carriers and with the same number of decks. The island is smaller and moved further towards the aft of the ship. The island has a composite mast with planar array radars, a volume search radar operating at S-band, and a multifunction radar at X-band. It carries the stern-facing joint precision approach and landing system, which is based on the local area differential global positioning system rather than radar. The aircraft carrier traditionally carries the flag officer and 70 staff of the carrier battle group. The flag bridge, which was previously accommodated in the carrier's island, was relocated to a lower deck in order to minimize the size of the island. The ship's internal configuration and flight deck designs have significantly changed. The lower decks incorporate a flexible, rapidly reconfigurable layout, allowing different layouts and installation of new equipment in command, planning, and administration areas. USS Gerald R. Ford defenses. Defense is a modest, though advanced network of improved RIM-162 evolved Sea Sparrow surface-to-air missiles, a rolling airframe missile installation, and a digital close-in weapon system, as well as an ANSPY 3 radar suite and active search and tracking features. Communications, search, and tracking is managed through a composite mast atop the island. However, the vessel will still rely on its extensive support fleet for both ranged and point defense against inbound enemy aircraft, missiles, surface threats, and undersea threats. Gerald Ford-class carrier aircraft. The heart and soul of the USS Gerald Ford is her air wing, comprised of modern and advanced fighters, strike aircraft, special mission aircraft, transports, and helicopters. No competing foreign design can match the air arm of USS Gerald R. Ford by any stretch. The carrier will be capable of carrying up to 90 aircraft, including the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, FA-18E, F Super Hornet, E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, EA-18G Growler electronic attack aircraft, MH-60R-S helicopters, as well as unmanned air and combat vehicles. The requirement for a higher sortie rate at 160 sorties a day, with surges to a maximum of 220 sorties a day in times of crisis and intense air warfare activity, has led to design changes in the flight deck. The flight deck has a relocated smaller island, while there are 3 rather than 4 deck edge elevators. Deck extensions also increase the aircraft parking areas. Aircraft service stations are located near the 18 refueling and rearming stops. Replacing traditional steam catapults, the electromagnetic aircraft launch system will launch all carrier aircraft. The innovation eliminates the traditional requirements to generate and store steam, freeing up considerable area below deck. With the EMALS, Gerald R. Ford can now accomplish 25% more aircraft launches per day than the Nimitz class and requires 25% fewer crew members. Aircraft weapons loading. The flow of weapons to the aircraft stops on the flight deck was upgraded to accommodate the higher sortie rates. The ship carries stores of missiles and cannon rounds for fighter aircraft, bombs and air-to-surface missiles for strike aircraft, and torpedoes and depth charges for anti-submarine warfare aircraft. Weapons elevators take the weapons systems from the magazines to the weapons handling and assembly areas on the 2-level deck below the flight deck, and express weapons elevators are installed between the handling and assembling areas on the flight deck. The 2 companies selected by Northrop Grumman to generate designs for the advanced weapons elevator are the Federal Equipment Company and Oldenburg Lakeshore. Deployment of all-up rounds, which are larger rather than traditional weapons requiring assembly, will require double-height magazines and storerooms, and will also impact on the level of need for weapons assembly facilities. The U.S. Navy outlined a requirement for a minimum increase of 150% in the power generation capacity for the CVN 78 carrier compared with the Nimitz-class carriers. The increased power capacity is needed for the 4 electromagnetic aircraft launchers and for future systems such as directed energy weapons that might be feasible during the carrier's 50-year lifespan. Sensors. In October 2008, Raytheon was contracted to supply a version of the dual-band radar developed for the Zumwalt-class destroyer for installation on the Gerald R. Ford. DBR combines X-band and S-band phased arrays. Propulsion. Northrop Grumman is developing the Advanced Nuclear Propulsion System with 2 reactors, 4 shafts, and a zonal electrical power distribution system for the CVN 78. As it stands, the USS Gerald R. Ford represents the most powerful surface warship in the United States Navy arsenal, able to respond to actions in any part of the world and unleash its air arm on enemies as USN carrier groups have done so effectively in past wars. Thank you.